settings. I go under settings on OBS, then I go to output. Then on the output, you just want to go make sure it's on simple. My motto is keep it simple. You don't have to do anything complicated. The video bitrate 6500 recommended for Rumble. Audio bitrate 160. Encoder. Now this is where your debate comes in. A lot of people want you to use the NVENC to stream, put the pressure on your GPU, which I was doing that, and I was getting 90 to maybe 110 frames back and forth at best. But when I took this and changed it to the software 264, it put pressure on my CPU, which when it did that, it took my CPU from like a 5% to 15 to 20%. So it didn't kill my CPU, but the upside was I saw my frames go up to 120 to 140 on the regular, and the game even ran smoother. But yeah, you might see CPU get used a little bit more, but this GPU is doing all kinds of work to run the game, so he doesn't need any more pressure put on it. Then your encoder preset, I leave that default, which is medium CPU usage right here, very fast. The recording path, that's something you're going to have selected on your own. The recording quality, yeah, when I am recording a video, I do want it to look better, so therefore I am going to have it a larger file size. The recording format is MKV encoder hardware. I do use my GPU more on this, but I'm not playing a game. I'm just recording, and sometimes I'm recording the game, but I'm not streaming. So it doesn't take as much on it. I do want it to look good. I want it to look the best that it's going to, as far as smooth. And when you're going to upload, you're going to lose. So I want to record as best I can whenever I'm going to try to upload something afterwards. The next thing I go to is video. Yes, my monitor is native 1440, but I play the game at 1080. So therefore, if I play it at 1080, I want it output at 1080. I don't want any hiccups. Some people say this will not matter, but to me, anything that I can do to eliminate a process that may become complicated, I don't want to put any kind of, I don't want to tax my system any more than I need. So I make these two exactly the same. I leave my 60 frames on this. Then I go to the next screen, which is advanced. I leave all these pretty much default. Now, if you have a setting different than this, I would highly recommend taking a picture of all these screenshots, writing them down, whatever it is that you have, or make screenshots of yours and write them down before you make these changes. You don't want to put these on here and not be able to go back to yours in case you're not satisfied with the results. But I would recommend mimicking these to the exact, just to see if you do see a frame rate difference. The last, I hit page down, you come here to stream delay. Rumble's got its own delay. I don't need to enable another delay on it. The automatic reconnect is already defaulted on here. All this stuff is already set, so there's really nothing else that needs change. It's pretty simple. You don't have to change much, but try these, see if it does help. Okay guys, here's your settings. You want to go under the settings of Warzone 2.0 and go to your settings, go over to graphics, and come to display. I recommend full screen exclusive. It's going to give you a few more frames. It may give you 10 to 15, maybe even 20 frames. I've seen go as much. So that's a big thing to change. If you're worried about your frames, keep your display monitor exactly what it is. You want to go to your NVIDIA GeForce, make sure that's, or whatever your graphics card is, that's definitely what's going to be as your display adapter. I leave on auto for my refresh rate. Some people have their custom, but anyways, I recommend auto. Just put it on auto. Display resolution, I know, yes, you can do 1440 on your monitor, and it may be like mine's native 1440, but I use 1080. The reason why I use 1080, it helps me have a little bit of smoother frame rates that stay consistent, and the game just seems like it plays overall. It doesn't tax out my system, and it just seems like it's just a better fit overall. So I would highly recommend to do 1080. All these settings I'm going to tell you today, I would say get you a pad and pen, write them down what you change, take a picture of what you change, take screenshots of what you changed, whatever it is that you do to kind of remind yourself, hey, I don't like how these changes are. You can always go back. So write down what you have. But if you're here, you've had issues with streams being cruddy frame rates, and you're wanting to max out your frame rates. So This is basically when I'm streaming on OBS, this is the settings that I use. The dynamic resolution, I've got it off. The aspect ratio, automatic. I'm just going to run through these because that's all you're worried about. I've done all the research. I've watched the videos. I've read the articles. These are the best settings because I'm not an expert at this by no means, but I am a tinkerer, and I will change settings until I get it to work the way that's best for me and best for the viewers that's watching. VSync is off, both of them. The frame limit. Now, I use 165 as the main frames, like limits, which is whatever your monitor is. You want to put that as your max, so that way when you're playing the game, it will hit your max at some point. But I have it just maybe, I don't know if it's just my preference, but when I'm in the monitor, or when I'm off, like a tabbed out, I want it to be 30. But if I'm just say, I'll show you what my settings are. That'll just make it a little easier. 165. In the menus, I want it to be 60. As you can see up here, it is 60. And then when if I tab out, go to another screen, I want to use the resources over there. So I want this one kind of just drop down to the lowest that I want it to go down to is 30. It will look kind of slow motion or whatever, so to speak, but it's okay. When you come back, it'll come right back to 60. When you play your game, it'll go right back to this right here. And just restart shaders. It's going to happen if you update your GPU or if you update the game. Sometimes you'll see that. So that's just something that's going to do it on its own. If you got a monitor, definitely use 2.2. If you got a television, use the 2.4. The brightness, that's your preference. I just recommend that put it to where it looks perfect or looks good to you. And then once you got it where it looks good, bump it up a few notches, because you're going to want to see in the dark shadows. You're going to want to see inside of a truck or inside of a cave or inside of something. So to me, it just helps to identify the enemy a little bit easier. And trust me, in this game where your TTK is so low, you're going to need every advantage that you can get. So I don't use a mouse. But if you did, you may want it to turn that on, so that way you'll only stay on this screen and you won't accidentally bump to your other screen. I leave this on automatic, the HDR. I really don't play with it. My monitor, I can use it, but to me it looks a little washed out. Maybe it's my settings, I don't know, but I just don't use it. But okay, so next you want to hit quality. This is where most of the changes are going to take place, and this is where you're going to see all your bigger jumps at. But when you hit that, it's going to ask you if you want to apply or save or whatever, if you've changed any settings. Save those, apply those, or whatever. And then go to custom. As you can see, it's 1080. You want to render that to 100%. You want to render that to 100. I use the Fidelity FX Cast, and if you've used this before and not been a fan of it, it's probably because you didn't have this tuned right here. I like it 40. Everything I've read for 3070 is 40. You may have 3080, 3090. You may have 4000 series, and it may be different for you. I would start at 40 and then work your way up or down, but I did try at 0, and it looks just kind of just Nintendo-y or something. I don't know. It just doesn't look well, and then 100 kind of tacks it out too much. So anyways, 40 works for me. I use Filmic, the SMAA, instead of the single one there up top. And then normal video memory scale, I allocate like 65% of the virtual RAM to be used. Low on the texture, high on the texture filter. Nearby level of detail, low. Distance level of detail, low. The clutter draw distance, short. The particle, low. The particle level, our quality level, low. The bullet impact, that's a preference again. I like to see the bullet damage. I like to see the bullet holes, so I've got bullets on. Persistent, it won't affect that much if any frames drop. If it drops your frames, you got worse issues. But persistent damage, off. Shaders, low. Tessellation, off. And the terrain memory, I got it maxed out. This on-demand texture, if you have a metered connection, you're going to want to try to probably turn this on and put your daily limit to whatever you want to allow it to download. To me, I don't have a metered connection, so it doesn't matter to me. I have allocated 24 gigs of my hard drive space to downloading textures and be cached in, so that way it's kind of easier, from what I understand, for your hard drive to find it, and it just allows the game to be a little bit more smooth for you. and look a little bit more crisp. Stream quality low, the volumetric quality low, the physics quality off, the water caustics off. And again, that's one of those settings I was scared to change, thinking the water wouldn't drip, water wouldn't run, I just didn't know what it would change. Honestly, when I turned it off, I didn't see a huge difference. Maybe you are super picky and you'll be able to see a difference. I wasn't. Normal shadow map resolution is what I got it set on normal. Then I've got it off on the screen space. On the spot shadow, I've got medium. The spot cache, I got medium. The particle lighting is low. The ambient is off. Screen space reflections are off. The static reflections low. The weather grid volumes are off. These are all things that doesn't affect your game. The game will still look nice. It'll look good to you. It'll look good to who's watching it. You really won't notice any like huge difference that you're missing when you turn these things off. But again, if you wrote it down, if you took a picture, if you took a screenshot, you can always just go right back to your settings of those things. Now, this is one that's debatable, this NVIDIA Reflex, because it works best for me on plus boost. Like I said, everything's a tinker. Everything's a change. This is one of those you might want to make a note that you may want to tinker with. But there's some people that argue with it off, argue with it on. With me tinkering, the on plus boost has worked fine, and I've not noticed any kind of issue with my setup with that. Depth of field is off. The world motion blur and weapon motion blur, definitely turn those off. As you can see, let me get back over here. So you see this right here. Why would you want this when you could have this? So to me, it just makes no sense unless it's somebody that just wants to get really in depth in the game and you want that. To me, it doesn't serve a purpose. Same thing with the grain. Yeah, you get a little bit more noise and it might look a little bit more smoky or a little bit more, but to me it's more pixelated. It's more just dirty looking. So I take that off. And the last but not least, when you go to view, again, it's probably going to ask you if you change settings here to apply them. Field of view is a preference. You can do 120, especially if you got a huge monitor and it works for you. To me, 120 seemed like I was too zoomed out. 110 was kind of a happy medium between those things. Don't think it really affects your frame rates that much. I've noticed some the more I zoomed in because it's showing more things on the screen. Of course, if you go all the way to 60, you're probably going to have a huge bump up in frames, but then you're not going to see a bad guy or an enemy on your left or right too much. So anyways, 110 was about the perfect measurement for me. The ADS, definitely use affected if you've changed the field of view because you want it to, whatever your field of view is, kind of your ADS to go with it. The field of view wide just because I like a larger peripheral vision. Anything that helps me see my guys coming quicker is better for me. Third person I don't play, so I left it on 80, but you may want to change it to 110 or 120, whatever it is that you play on, but that's again not really going to affect it much. If you play third person, that's up to you. The vehicle field of view, I leave it wide for the same reason. I just like to be able to see farther because I'm driving, you're moving faster, you want to be able to see around. Camera shake. Aiming is hard enough sometimes with a weapon, so why do I want my camera to shake? I turn every setting that I can to minimize that, this is one of them. I have it on least. Again, I don't play third person, but I do have it on least. This right here, only thing it does is when you aim down the sights, it will look like a third person to first person sight, depending on how you want it to set up. I have tried third person, don't like it, but I did like when I aimed down the weapon that it looked first person again. The default cam, again, that is just, you want a helmet cam? Do you want the game perspective? If my preference is the game perspective, but just because that's what I like in Call of Duty. But if your game's like mine, sometimes it goes to the helmet cam anyways. But that is pretty much the settings that I have changed. You can watch some of my videos. I'll show some here that kind of contrast what it was before and what it was after. And just try them on yours and let me know what you think in the comments.